Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope everyone's doing wonderful on this Friday. Thank you so much for all those well wishes. I really wasn't that sick, but I was sick enough that my body said you need to stop. And so this is my allergy season. I started to not feel so good Saturday night, and then Sunday was worse, and then Monday I was supposed to be on Milu's channel, and I had a fever. And so I did something that I haven't done for a long time. I took a day off. I stayed in my pajamas and I just rested. And I think sometimes if you don't listen to your body, spirit will just do something that forces you to listen to it. So thank you for all you well wishes. I really do appreciate that. So next Monday, I will be on Milu's channel, and that'll be at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. And then I'm going to do something really fun next Saturday, not tomorrow, the next Saturday, on Sheila from Celtic Tarot's channel. I'm going to be on there. And she had this great idea of me giving her a reading on her channel, and we're going to do it live. So that's really exciting. That's 1 p.m. Eastern. Um, for my Going Beyond members, tomorrow, Saturday, is the Angel Tarot readings. And that's for manifestation purposes. If there's something that you're blocked, we can take a look at that. I do as many people as I possibly can. And thank you to all the new members and subscribers. I am just blown away in like the last week or so how many I've gotten. So thank you and welcome. On Sunday for my members, I'm doing the Raha Shah channeling at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. And I do that live and you can ask questions. All right. So today we're going to look at two different things. We're going to look at December 14th because December 14th is when the electors vote in their states. So that's when all of those electoral votes come into play. And we're going to take a look at that day. And I'm also going to talk about the two different timelines that I have seen for Trump. And I did do some remote viewing on this. There is two very distinct paths that I do see him possibly going down. Neither one goes past January 19th, however. So I know. Spoiler alert. I don't see him getting that much further. And thank you everyone for keeping the comments in the comment section so positive. I know there's still a lot of upset people because, their candidate didn't win, but you know what? Like Joe Biden said, we are the United States of America. It's time to stop being so divisive, right? So I'm not going to tolerate any of those comments. And thank you for my regular viewers. You know that when you see them, to just tell me if I don't catch them quick enough, because I do just send them to YouTube. And these people are creating their own platforms now. I did get onto one of them, and it's so scary. Um, it's just insane. It's like insanity going into one of those platforms. Um, I'm assuming that they're going to be shut down pretty quickly because I think they're going to just incite violence. Some of you have been asking me, because in the past I predicted violence after the election, if I still see that. And unfortunately, I do. But we need a catalyst, right? We need for something to happen. And these people that are Trump supporters, they really think that he's still going to win. So reality hasn't hit. That's why we're not seeing violence, because reality hasn't hit, unfortunately. So once it does hit, yes, I am definitely still seeing violence. That's when we need to be careful. Um, and I have seen like the military being deployed and things like that. So unfortunately, I still see that coming. I don't see a change. Um, a lot of you sent me messages asking about the Pentagon officials that were removed. Um, Interesting, because I know all of you were concerned about nuclear things, like if you would, press a button or something. I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing any sort of act of war. Um, but I am wondering if those people that he let go, if he had asked them to play with the satellites and they said no. So I do still see that, because this is all about him trying to bide some time, right? And if he can create a little bit of chaos, um, like tinkering with a satellite, that would buy him a little bit of time and get people's thinking changed. And, you know, he's pretty desperate because he knows he's not going to win, right? And desperate people do desperate things. So, I mean, like I've said before, if we temporarily lose our ability to use our cell phones or internet, don't panic. It's not an active war. It's not extraterrestrials coming after us. Um, it's just him trying to gain more time and create chaos. Um, and a lot of you have asked me about the fundraising. Okay, so yeah, I think what we're seeing right now is he's trying to rebrand himself, right? Um, he doesn't want to have his legacy look like he was a loser. Okay. Um, so he's trying to shift it, rebrand himself as someone who was more of a victim. Okay. And so he creates all these unusual theories, right? That, if by now, if any of them were true, he would have presented the facts, right? So we know that they're not true, but it's rebranding and trying to change his legacy. And then with the fundraising for his legal defense, if you look at the fine print, he can use that money for anything. So it doesn't actually have to go towards him disputing this election. It can go towards whatever he wants. And, remember that reading that I did before the election and I kept getting all these pentacle cards? And it was like money, money, money. Everything was about money. And, you know, like what was it, maybe 2 days after he lost the election, he, we start hearing things about Deutsche Bank and he says like he's selling his helicopter and he's losing the helipad at Mar-a-Lago. And so, I mean, his debt collectors are coming. I think Deutsche Bank is thinking, well, first come, first serve. And so they got themselves right at the front of the line. So I'm not really too worried about anything. As far as I'm seeing it, things are playing out pretty much how I've been saying. He would deny losing, he would demand recounts. Think of how many times I got the Page of Swords that indicate like legal battles. So we knew that he was going to try to fight this. But it never showed that he would be successful. And when I've done readings off camera since then, nothing has changed. So as far as I'm concerned, like this is kind of going the way it should. There's nothing that's raising any alarms for me. So I'm going to take a look at December 14th. Okay. So what do we need to know about Trump? Let's be very specific, okay? Because December 14th is kind of vague, so let's be specific. What do we need to know about December 14th when the electors vote in their states? Okay. Okay, well, that's pretty telling right there. All right, so numero uno. Um, so for Trump on December 14th, we get the death card. So this is a time of transition and transformation. Um, physical death, I'll get into that more with when I talk to you next about the timelines. So that's obviously not great. His obstacle is enlightenment. The sun card's all about enlightenment. The baby on the card represents like a new beginning. And so that's his obstacle. And so I think people becoming more enlightened is actually a problem for him. And then for the outcome, here we go. How many times through all these months have we gotten this card again and again and again? He's feeling like a victim. He's feeling like his hands are tied and like he can't do anything and he can't move and people are victimizing him. But also, too, if he took that blindfold off and saw reality for what it is, he would have a much easier time in life, wouldn't he? Um, so, all right, so that is that. All right, so I did some remote viewing work. And so when I do remote viewing, I do the military style where I don't know where I'm actually going. I just get sent letters and numbers and they're encoded. For those of you that was in my live tarot class where I was answering questions, we was talking a lot about intent. And intent is real. Intent is energy, and energy is really what keeps the universe going, right? So So within those encoded letters and numbers, you're able to go to wherever you need to go. So in that remote viewing, and I'm going to speak a little bit more like a remote viewer because remote viewers do not put labels on things. Um, like whoever your client is, whether it's the government or like a big corporation or an important person, they're not paying you for your opinions. Okay. So I will just tell you the remote viewing as I saw it. And so what I saw was a man in the back of a very boxy vehicle that was making unusual noises, sort of like warning noises. And this man was prone. He was laying down and he had someone on either side of him. There may have been a third subject that was around that man. I wasn't sure, but definitely two. And they were trying to get him to calm down. When I went into their energies, it was very interesting because they were thinking things like, calm down, stay calm. Why are you shouting? Why are you lying? Which I thought was interesting. Um, and so they were putting something over his face. I could see some tubes and I could hear some like unnatural beeping, like from a machine. And this man was very angry. His skin was not a natural color. It was an unusual color, I felt. And he was shouting. He was really angry, truly, truly angry that he was in the back of this boxy vehicle that was warning other vehicles to get out, get away. And so then they come up to a very large structure, a man made structure, and they took him inside of it. Inside of that structure, it was white, and I could smell a very sterile smell. It was very sterile. It was very clean in there. I could hear like a loudspeaker overhead. And once again, as I got further into that building, I could hear those unnatural beeps, like from a machine. And there was people, they got him into a room and he was still, prone. And they're adding more, I could see more tubes and wires and all sorts of things. There was a sense of urgency, a real sense of urgency. There was also a sense of confusion when I went into the energy of the people that was around this man. Um, they didn't understand why he was so angry and shouting and that sort of thing. Um, because he was actually, when I went into his energy, he was having extreme chest pain. Um, it really, really hurt. It was going down his left arm, it was radiating down his body. And then I saw something that I didn't quite understand. It was a large screen, and it appeared that he was watching himself, like on TV. He was watching a large screen, but it's like his life force was also fading from his body. So it didn't make sense to me why you would watch TV at that moment. And my remote viewing ends with him like still yelling and screaming and angry. Um, so when I asked later if I had been given something to look at that had to do with Trump, I was told yes. They gave me several to try to throw me off. One was really funny. I found myself in a moving cart in the dark with children, and I wrote down children with no souls. I was like, what? What is this? And I'm like, puppets, dolls? And there was like this really annoying music that kept playing, and these weird doll things were moving around, and this cart just kept going around and around. They put me in the It's a Small World ride at Disney. I was like, you know what, that's just evil. Um, so as a remote viewer, remote viewers always talk about timelines, right? Because timelines are always changing. There's always a possibility that you're going to go to a different timeline. So the other timeline that I can see that I've gotten with the tarot and from my guides, because, the one that I just did the remote viewing on is health related, that is preventable. So when you get something that is like that, that's completely preventable. So it's kind of up to him if he wants to go down that path. And the reason why I always tell people I don't do death predictions because there's way too much free will with death. What I see is that you have multiple exit points that you've written into your chart, and you make that decision at the soul level, and it's entirely up to you whether you do it or not. And so I don't make those sort of predictions, so I'm not going to do it now. However, that did seem like a very um, severe situation medically. The other timeline that I can see through my other types of work um, is one that he leaves before January 19th and he goes to Florida. So the strange part is though, I'm having a hard time pushing his timeline past January. And so that tells me something else is going on. And so I am kind of curious. Let's take a look at him later in January. Okay, so let's look later in January, past the 19th and the 20th, towards the end of the month. And let's just see if the tarot can add some clarity to that. So let me see. I'm trying to not get into his energy too much because it's pretty toxic right now. As you can imagine, the energy at the White House is very negative, chaotic, but dismal. Like just, it feels really heavy. Like there's a dark cloud over it. Not a place you'd want to be. And I just feel like there's so much illness. Um, and then, I keep seeing, as I'm throwing cards, I keep seeing that more and more of his staffers are getting sick. And so I wonder, if that's adding to some of that. Oh, some of you asked about these cards. That's probably why they slipped. So these are new. These are the Radiant Rider-Waite cards. And they don't have the oils from my fingers on them yet, so they're still like really slippery. I've been using them constantly, but it's going to take a while. Okay. Okay. So this is Trump going past January 20th. This is the card of grief, loss, and sorrow. All right. So I think that kind of sums it up. I mean, you watched me shuffle the cards, throw the cards, put them back together. Okay. So that's kind of telling. Here he is, all alone. He's the hermit. Now, interesting, if you want to read this like the last reading, the other thing, because this would, if I'm doing a mini Celtic cross, this would be in the obstacle position. And that lantern stands for enlightenment, just like the sun did in the last reading. So, and here we go, the Empress, one of my cards for the US. America has spoken. The US has won. This is a win for democracy, for sure. Here he is, back turned. There he goes. He's leaving. So we do get that he's leaving a lot, don't we? We get a lot of cards with his back turned, which, always means somebody's going and, or in some cases, they're not facing reality too, if they're not actually moving. So I think the cards have just been really, really consistent. So I know if any of you are concerned about the future with all of this, my readings still stand. I feel fine with everything that I've seen, and the cards were once again very predictable. So I thank you for all of you for watching. I appreciate it. And once again, welcome to all of my new subscribers and members. And I hope everyone has a beautiful weekend. Bye, everyone.